I've been studying back at the beginning in Genesis. And I get to Genesis chapter 11, verse 5 and 6. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they propose to do will be impossible for them. He is telling us exactly what we need to do to accomplish anything. So how do we do that in such a diverse world? Like sometimes I think we look at our nation and we think it's impossible to turn this ship around because there is nothing too big for God to handle. But some of that begins with us. Like we have to change. We can still be in unity. We can still be in one accord, even though we may have differences. Let me explain. So I went to the scriptures trying to figure out, what is this language? How would we become unified? Jesus told us what the greatest two commandments are. In Matthew chapter 22 and verse 37 says, And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. That's the greatest commandment. Love God the most. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Sometimes we're not so good at loving ourselves, and we'll love our neighbor better than we love ourselves. And sometimes we love ourselves entirely too much that we don't love our neighbor anymore. And it doesn't matter if we speak literally different languages, come from different cultures, have different skin tones, have different beliefs, have different doctrinal beliefs in church. There is one common language that we as Christians should all be speaking, and that is love. Jesus goes on to say in verse 40, on these two commandments depend the whole law and the prophets. Undoubtedly, the prophets had plenty of times where they probably didn't want to love people, and they were so hated and mistreated and abused, and they experienced such trials and tribulations just for loving people and loving God, holding those two commandments. We can agree to disagree, but we can still love. Love your neighbor as yourself. So I'm going to challenge everybody today that you challenge yourself. How well are you loving God? Is he first? Because that's the first step. And how well are you loving your neighbor as yourself? Where's the imbalance? Can you agree to disagree, but still love? Come together to be the hands and feet of Jesus and still love. Set aside hate, set aside division, because if we could come together, there is nothing impossible for a nation. There is nothing impossible with God. I hope you guys have a blessed day and really start utilizing that love language.